Hello, it's Kyle, and the book I'll be reviewing today is The White Plague by Herbert. A lot of people might be familiar with this author from his very famous series, the Dune series. I've actually never read that series. I hope to at some point in the future, but I really enjoyed his book, The White Plague. Now, before I get started with the plot, it's important to mention this book was written in the early 1980s, and the plot is set in the early 1980s. So when you read it today, it kind of reads like an alternate history book, but it's important to remember it really wasn't written as an alternate history because he said it, and then what was his present day, so it's not really an alternate history. The reason I mention that, one important facet of the plot of this book is terrorism in Ireland. People are very familiar with the politics of Ireland, are very well aware that there's a long history of terrorism in Ireland associated with the IRA and the British. And the 1980s was a very violent period in Ireland. Now it's calmed down a lot, but 80s are a lot of terrorist bombings. It's very common for that to happen in Ireland. And an act of terrorism in Ireland is actually what kicks off the plot of this book. John O'Neill is a businessman from America who's traveling to Ireland with his family for a little business project he's working on. And he has his wife is married, and he has very young kids. And he's actually meeting at a bank and taking care of some business, and his family's going to come meet him. So he actually, while he's in his meeting, he actually looks out the window and he sees his family coming towards the bank to meet him and stuff. So he's getting ready to leave the meeting and stuff so he can go hang out with his family and kind of explore Ireland together. And right when he looks out the window and he sees his family is right when a van drives by and suddenly it explodes. And it kills his family. He rushes to the scene. He's kind of in shock. Several other people are killed, and he just basically has a mental breakdown. And while he's in the hospital, you actually get to hear his thoughts as he's trying to process this, what happened to his family. And before this, he's just this normal, average guy, very smart. He works in development of drugs. He's a pharmacologist and stuff, but you can tell he's really smart. He has a background in chemistry and stuff. But this just caused a complete mental break for him. And while you hear his thoughts in this hospital as he's recovering from this break, it's clear that John O'Neill basically ceases to exist, and his mind creates a new persona to help get revenge for his family's being killed in this terrorist attack. And the alternate persona he comes up with, he terms the madman, and basically the madman allows him to take the revenge that John O'Neill wouldn't be able to. I think an important part of this book is to kind of your own debate within how justified is John O'Neill of taking these acts that he does. Is it completely insane, or does he have some justification? And basically what he does with his scientific background, he kind of sells off all his possessions and stuff first and gets a good amount of money, and he basically puts himself in seclusion, and he develops the White Plague with his knowledge of science. He turns out to be a very brilliant man. In fact, later in the book, they some people that are studying him kind of theorize that this tragic event that caused his mental breakdown also triggered some sort of an inner genius within him that took him to a whole new level of intellect that before he just didn't have access to. And basically the plague he develops is targeted specifically to get revenge against Ireland, since that's where the terrorist attack took. England, since it's English oppression of Ireland that kind of caused the terrorist attack. And since the terrorists were trained in Libya, he also targets Libya. And the plague he comes up with is termed the White Plague, but it's a very unique plague in that it only attacks women. Men actually get it, but it just gives them like a slight cold. Women get it, they die in a few days. And every woman that gets it dies. So basically you're looking at a future in these places, a land with no women, and the kind of change that society this creates. As the madman, he sends letters to all the world leaders and basically says, I'm taking my revenge on Ireland, England, and Libya for this terrorist attack. do not try to stop me. If you do try to stop me, I'll release more plagues on the rest of the world. If there's anybody that's anybody that's Irish, English, or Libyan, you have to send them back to their countries. Their countries have to be blockaded so nobody from those countries can leave, so they cannot escape basically his justice. So this obviously throws the world into utter chaos because, I'm sure you can imagine, some cases of the plague slip past the blockades, so the plague starts popping up around the world. The countries start reacting to that in different ways. Eventually the solution they started developing is what they call terror bombing, which basically is they pretty much nuke areas that get the plague to try to stop it from spreading. Countries start protecting their population of women and start putting them in secluded areas because they start theorizing that women will become the most important commodity in this new world since the plague is killing so many of them. So countries might go to war with each other over each other's supply of women. So it's creating all these societal changes. But at the same time when you're looking at all this stuff, world politics and stuff, really the crucial part of the story is John O'Neill, because you're throughout the book, about half of it is from his point of view. Basically after he unleashes this plague, he actually travels to Ireland before the blockade set in because he wants to kind of observe his revenge in first person. And he knows the Irish will try, and all the countries that are affected will try to solve and find a cure for the plague. So he wants to make sure with his knowledge that while he's in Ireland that he wants to sabotage their attempts to cure the plague. Because if they cure the plague, it ruins his revenge in his mind. But once he gets to Ireland, the authorities in Ireland kind of figure out who he is. They're pretty sure, but they're not positive because he's going by alias. But they're pretty positive he actually is John O'Neill. And he will be able to help them cure the plague since he created it. But they want to find out for sure. And at this point, because the way society's broke down, there's a little lack of transportation and stuff, so pretty much you have to walk everywhere. So they invite him to go to the place where they're trying to cure the disease. They just don't tell him they really know he's John O'Neill. And they have put together a company of people to go with him, a priest, a former member of the IRA who actually was the person who set the bomb that killed his family, and an orphan child. And these three people are basically tasked with trying to figure out if this person really is John O'Neill. So they kind of wander across Ireland in this little struggle as John O'Neill begins to see what his plague really has wrought. And he begins to debate with himself, did I have the right to take this revenge? Did I go too far? So you kind of get this internal debate among John O'Neill that I found really, really fascinating. So I really loved The White Plague by Frank Herbert. Very, very good book. Very interesting book. It's a standalone book too, which I enjoyed because some of the books I read now are series, and it gets tiring of having to buy 4 or 5 books just to get the entire story. It's nice every once in a while just have a standalone book that you buy one book and you're done. So The White Plague by Frank Herbert, I highly recommend it. On a couple other notes before I wrap up, I did want to mention in my last video I was showing off the Fahrenheit 451 t-shirt, and I mentioned the website that you can buy it directly from the company, and I mentioned that I bought it from a local bookstore. Well, I was talking to the owner of the local bookstore, and it turns out they also have set up a kind of a shop option on their website where you can actually buy books and t-shirts from this local bookstore that I bought my t-shirt from. So the bookstore's name is Foxtail Bookshop. I'll actually link their website below, so if you'd like to purchase the t-shirt directly from this local bookstore, which is a great bookstore, I'll get a lot of my books from there. So if you'd like to buy one of those book cover t-shirts, the website link will be below. And like I said, I hope you will read Frank Herbert, The White Plague. It's me again. Sorry, I forgot one thing. I knew at the end I was going to forget something. You might remember a couple months ago I announced a contest that if people would post an impersonation of me, I would pick the best one, and that person would win a book from me up to $20 in value. They basically just have to tell me what book they'd want. I'd buy it and ship it to them. I had a couple people enter. I have picked the best one in my opinion, so I will link who I picked as the winner below, and I'll be getting in contact with that person to find out what book they'd like and how to ship it to them and stuff. But I forgot to mention that initially, so I just want to make sure a winner has been crowned. Check out the video and see how good of impersonation you think they did of me, and congrats to the winner.